the book. I'm just going to make a correction. In last class, I labeled it correctly, but when I opened up in last class, I called it class number 15, but it really was 16. So this is class number 17. Okay, so just not to get confused, our two classes, when I open up, I say it's 15, but I checked somewhere and I thought I thought I had uploaded the last class and I haven't. And when I looked, it said 14. So I thought the next class was 15, but it really 15 had already been recorded. So that was it's a different class, but I labeled it accidentally, at least in the recording, as 15 when it should have been 16. Okay. Now we're holding at class number 17. 17 is good. Okay, meaning it's Gematria Tov, and Tov is good. So a special goodness to this class. We are in the middle of, as we said, chapter 40. In this chapter, he begins to explain the second level of Ila v'Alol, that there's two types of Ila v'Alol, cause and effects, which are interlooped, intertwined, and close to each other. One of them is one where the Ila, the cause and the effect, are of two substances, one incorporating the other. And that, he said, of course, is not shayach, isn't possible by in a level of essence, but only in a level of chitzonius, of external, because in essence there can only be one essence. It's not mixed with more than one entity. But in the external emanation of something over there can be already a colorful situation, and because and the example for that kind of ilovei alul was intellect and emotions, where intellects give birth to emotions, which means the emotions are born out of the intellect, and the emotions are the alul, the effect that comes from the intellect. And we explained how that is indicative that it's not being born from the essence of the intellect, it's being born from the expansion of the intellect, which in general is bina, not chachma, because chachma is the is the essence of the intelligence, and how it relates to anything is via its essence to its essence. It picks up things at the very, very essence, as we will still explore, and that's why it's not really so much related to the emotions as much as bina, which is the mother. She produces the emotions in a manner of ila v'alul, in cause and effect, and in bina itself, it's the external element of bina, where she carries in her womb, where she carries the emotions. That was an example of an ila, of mode A of ila v'alul, where in ila v'alul are two different substances, and one is only giving birth to the other. And the cause, its effect, its role that it plays in producing the effect is mainly in revelation, not in essential production. Because if it's some other substance, it's not producing another substance. It's just bringing forth a hidden something that it is embedded in it. Okay, next we go. In this chapter, he began to explain, we might call it a higher level of Ila and Alul, where the Alul is of the same substance of the Ila. The effect is of the same substance of the cause. And he gave the example of the intellect of the teacher and the intellect of the student. The teacher studies and learns and has a knowledge to impart, to share. That knowledge, when they pass it on to their student's intelligence is now an affected entity. It's born out of the teacher's intelligence. It's of a lower level, and it's not as bright, and it's not as great as the teacher's intelligence, but it's the same substance. It's the same idea carried over to the student. Here you can't say it's another. It's not like emotions, which is a different breed. It's the same entity. It's intellect. Now, the chiddush that he's saying over here is that the fact that the student's intellect, which is a ha'ara, it's a ray of the teacher's intelligence, the fact that they exist in a manner of ila v'alul, which we are going to explain in today's class. We didn't really get to explain that in class number 16, which we explain in today's class, which means if they exist in a manner of ila v'alul, which means there's a close relationship between them. They're close to begin with, and they have the ability to get closer, like Ila and Alul are constantly empowered to merge with each other in a deeper way. They can get closer, they can get farther. There isn't a cutoff gap between them. We're going to see. This applies to the student's intelligence and the teacher's intelligence. The student's intelligence over here is called a ha'ara, array of the teacher's intelligence. But for that to be, it must be, as he says, that the teacher's intelligence is not, which is the source of the student's intelligence, is not the essence of the teacher's mind, but a ray. That means to begin with, the teacher's intelligence that the teacher is consciously experiencing in their head is a ray of their intelligence, and that's why they can ray it. They can ray a ray from it. Now, you can ray a ray even from essence, but when essence rays a ray, the ray that comes from essence will forever be separated from its source. In other words, and this is an idea that we spoke in last class, which we're going to crystallize today with God's help. And ma'or, light and luminator, where there is the light is coming from an essence, from a real source, a true source, meaning a true essential source. Over there is a fundamental separation that separates ma'or from or, the luminary from its light, and therefore it does not qualify in the category of ilah va'olol, which doesn't have that barrier. What that really means, in short, which we're going to learn a little bit more today, light that emanates from a source like sunlight can never work on itself to be more reflective of its source, to refine itself and elevate itself and get closer. Light is light, and a light is whatever it carries over. We do say light or me'in hamor. Light is always similar to the source in the sense that whatever the source is, if the source is bright, then the light will be bright. Right? If the source is dimmer, is not such a bright light, you can tell the difference if you're seeing a radiance of the sun, it's a certain brightness, than to any other light, even if it's a powerful, an incredible, strong, super luminous light that is shining. The rays are of the complete different quality of the sun rays, because this is the sun and this is not the sun. So the light is always reflective of the ma'or. Especially the higher form of light. In last class, we discussed that when a luminary, when a ma'or gives light, it can be in two ways. One way is where the ma'or is not trying to hide anything. The ma'or is just being a ma'or. The luminary is being a ma'or, and the light that's coming from it is carrying over directly from the ma'or. In that sense, it's called giloy ha'etzem. It's trying to reveal the essence. But even when that's the case, the or is always inferior to the source, and when we say inferior, it's with an absolute inferiority. And what that means is that the light, even in this case, can never help itself become more ma'or-like, become more more one or more of the same nature of its source. Whatever it reflects of the source, it reflects on the source, but it cannot improve on it. Okay, now that's a very important idea. That's one level of or and ma'or. Then there's even another type of or and ma'or, where the ma'or gives off light on purposely in a way where it's not allowing the light to really reflect what the source is. It's almost like releasing a light but distancing itself from the light that it is emanating, and that's called a or that comes from the ma'or through the histalkus, through the ma'or hiding itself from the light that it's producing. Now, even in this case, you have to say there's some connection. There cannot be light that is emanating from a source that is not connected. Or always has to be davuk b'ma'or. But the example for this would be the light of the kav that follows first a tzimtzum. First time we discussed earlier in the beginning of the book, the whole long discussion. Now, first the or was shining from the ma'or directly, from God, from the essence of God directly. Then Hashem hides that light that's in Istalkus and takes away the or abligvul, the infinite light, and there's a total blackout. And then he reintroduces the or kav. The fact that he's reintroducing the or kav after a concealment means that this light is not meant to just show off the source. There is on purposely the higher quality of the ma'or of the source is being hidden from the light that it's emanating. So in that case, for sure, there is a deep gap between the or, an unbridgeable gap between the or and the ma'or. But even in the first case, where you have light that is me'ein ha'etzem, which means it is of the source and flowing freely from the source, the very idea that it is or, which or is only ha'ara, array, means that it doesn't have anything of the substance. It's not like the ma'ar is emptying itself out in its or. It's not that the ma'ar is spilling its guts into the or. The ma'ar remains unaffected, unchanged, undiminished. It's not losing any of its power by the lights coming out from it. All of that is indicative of the fact that the or will always be only or, and this is the main point. It cannot do anything to help itself be elevated more and therefore like having it the essence of the ma'ar. It cannot do that. Cannot do that. Now, in Ilav Al relationship, where a teacher teaching a student, so let's take a teacher and a student, the teacher's intelligence is being transmitted to the student. The student can improve, and there's the initial illumination. The student comes into the class, learns the class, and let's say it takes a while till they really get it and they understand it, and they walk home, and now they have this new concepts and ideas, and they're very excited about it and so forth, and they understand it. And we all understand that the way the student understands the class and the way the teacher understood the class is there's a distance, that the student is only a ray of the teacher. We understand that. But here is where we have a situation where light, where the relationship between the two is different than light and luminary. The teacher is not considered luminary and the student light. Why? Because the student, we're going to see 2 points, but I'm going to pick up on the second point first. The student is able to increase their relationship with their teacher, not by going back for another class, even just from this class itself. By the student learning this again and again and again and again and delving deeper into what the teacher said, suddenly more of the depth of what the teacher conveyed to them starts to becoming, it reveals itself more in the student, which means that the student is able to improve their relationship with the intelligence in the teacher. And actually, after 40 years, the student can make their mind be quite similar to the mind of their teacher. What that tells you is that this gap that we spoke about before does not exist in the relationship. The gap that exists between or and ma'or does not exist because that's etzem. That's the main point. Because over there, the or is coming from a level of essence, and essence will always be separated from light, from emanation. The fact that teacher and student could deepen their bond with each other and get deeper, and the student can grow closer to their, in other words, the ilah, the effect can grow closer, the olol, the effect can grow closer to the ilah, to its cause, is an indicative that the cause itself is not essence. The cause itself is only a ray. And when a ray produces a ray, they're not so far from each other. Here's a brighter light, and this is an offshoot from that brighter light. Because what the teacher has doesn't mean that the teacher doesn't have an essence of an intellect, but that doesn't even begin to come into play in this relationship between teacher and student. Their essential mochen is not being taught. They're not spilling their brains out to their student. Their essence of their mind remains theirs. It's an intellectual, it's a certain light that is shining in their head. That light, they are now furthering that light by raying a ray from that light. Since the source is also a ray, from the ray can come a ray of a ray. So this would be similar. This is the idea that we're saying, the second mode of Ilav Ha'olol, where this Ilav Ha'olol, where the Olol is not a new substance, like emotions coming from intellect. It's the same substance, but it's a ray from, it's ray B coming from ray A. The fact that it's, how do we know that that A is only a ray? The very fact that there is a closeness between A and B, and a closeness that can even be improved. That is an indication that it's only a ray. because when it would be directly emanating from essence, there would be an unbridgeable barrier between the two. Okay? That's kind of where he's going with this. And I feel like in class number 16, I really wasn't feeling well, and it wasn't clear. So I'm happy that now we're hopefully clarifying this idea. All of this is going to lead to the concept how Chachma is essentially above Bina. Because from Bina and outward, Bina is already the world of rays. It's already the world of descriptions. It's already the world of externality of something, not the essence of something. And therefore, from Bina and onward, you're already dealing with a ray of an experience that experiences the external, the ray element of it. From there, from the Bina can be students. From the Bina can come emotions. Two types of Ila v'Alol. But the whole rolling out of Ila v'Alols, which happen in all the Sfirot, is primarily from Bina and onward. Chachma, because Chachma is in the world of essence, is an experience of essence. It has a certain aloofness and a inaccessibility to the other Sfirot below it. And for that reason, Chachma is called Maila, it's called high, and Bina is called low compared to Chachma. This is all where he's going over here, that the differences between the Sfirot are absolute, not just, it's not of the same quality, more light or less light, it's of a different status completely. This is to kind of keep the flow. So let's continue over here. We're holding right after the parentheses, the Or Lagabamar, and the word over here is after the word Lavad, and we're holding by the word Vizehu, the third into chapter 40, meaning the first paragraph of chapter 40. Vizehu, and this is the explanation, the Hisavas Olol. So we were talking about how the fact that the closeness that we were showing between the effect and the impactor and the cause, the Ila and the Olol, was the fact that it could get closer. But now he's beginning really with something even prior to that. The emergence of the Olol comes from an extension of the Ila, of the cause, into the space of the Olol. That means the way the Olol is created is not, the Olol is not just, it's not a cause and effect where cause exists in San Francisco and effect happens in Los Angeles. It's in a way where maybe they are as far as San Francisco to Los Angeles, but San Francisco comes to LA to produce the effect. The point over here is let's take intellect and emotions, the second form of Ilo V'Olol. The intellect actually, even though the place of intelligence is usually in the brain and in the mind, up on the top of the person in the head, yet we know Kabbalistically that we say that Bina, the Bina, which is the understanding, which is the Ilah for the emotions, doesn't remain cold from the heart, disconnected from the heart, but Bina herself descends into the heart. So much so that in Sefer Yetzirah it says, is it Sefer Yetzirah? Maybe it's Zohar. It says Bina Liba. That Bina, which part of the body is Bina? Liba, the heart. Hold it, the heart is Bina, the heart is the emotions. Bina is intellect, is understanding, that's in the brain. It's in the left side of the brain, but it's the brain. How do we suddenly end up with Bina Liba? The answer is that in order for emotions to come into existence, the intellect must descend into the heart. What that means really is that when you are experiencing an emotion, and let's say it's a full-blown emotion, you're really already feeling that this thing is good for me, and I'm excited about it. I feel passion. I feel a warmth in my heart. I'm driven with a desire and a passion and a fervor to have it. It's a burning sensation in the heart. Even though there is a consummation of the emotion, there is some intellectual information that's informing it that is not in the head. It's inside the heart itself. The emotion feels somewhat of the reason, because if it loses the reason, if it loses the sense of the objective goodness of whatever that is, and it loses what, then the emotion dies very quickly. It's very hard to maintain, even if it might be there for a little bit. It's like a fire without any source to hold on to. So there has to be The brain itself has to descend down into the heart. Bina liba. It's interesting, we were learning in Torah Or the other day that's why nursing, the mother nurses from her breasts, and her breasts are next to her heart. The reason is nursing is really delivering intelligence, bina intelligence to the child. There is no time in a person's life where they gain so much intelligence like when they're in their nursing period. Even though you think, they haven't even gone to school. The best school ever, where you'll learn the most, is from when you're infancy, from the day you're born, until the mother weans the child off the nursing. You're learning the essence of the essential. You're learning the basic reality of existence is being taught to you on such. There is mochen. Obviously, it's not sophisticated mochen like we understand later when you're in college or you're learning, you're studying this series over here, Ayin Beis, the Lakus podcast, but it's the mind that is being developed in the child during that short period of time. The mother is taking her bina and delivering it. Where is it coming from? From her heart. But hold it then. The child should be nursing from the head. No, they're nursing the bina as it is cuddled in the emotions, and that's how it's transmitted to the child. Okay, so this is what he's going to explain over here. How does the olol come into being? There is a little bit of a grasp. The effect has some hold. That means the emotions in this case, he's going to say in a moment, have some grasp in its ila, in its cause, which is the intellect. Ukamoi, as he gives the example, like emotions and intellect, some of the luminance of the mind gets drawn bil-lave into the heart. Ukamaimer, and as it says, bina liba, that bina is the heart. Chachma is the mocha, chachma is the brain, and bina is the heart. That means the chachma does not arrive in the heart, but the bina does arrive in the heart. Ubaha leiv maven, and with the bina, the heart understands. What is the heart understanding meaning? The heart understanding means the emotions, which are the heart. The heart is full of blood, so it represents excitement. So emotions we associate with the heart. So, but in there is an intelligence. This to awaken the emotions. For who Inyan, and this is the idea of his slapshus elo baha olo, the enclothement of the cause to go down into the effect. Ma'ar and ar do not work that way. The source, the luminary, that shines light, does not extend into the light. The ma'ar remains in its place, and the light emanates from it. It doesn't, as we said earlier, there's not even one bit of the diffusement of the sun that goes into its rays. A ray is of a complete inferior quality that comes from the light. It's a reflection, if you might call it, but not it. Unlike the relationship of the intellect to the emotions, and also the teacher's comprehension to the student's comprehension, which is the other kind of iloviyol, which is also like a ray. It's not a different substance, but here as well, the teacher's intelligence extends into the student's mind. It's not like the teacher's mind remains completely in its head. Then that means like this, that even when the student comes to a full grasp of an understanding, and they understand it in their own words, in their own mind, the core principle of their understanding has to be the words of their teacher. That means they can't completely recreate the idea without having any core principles of what the teacher gave them. The substance of the DNA of the student's understanding is, like we say in Chassidus, always oisi oisarav. You always have to maintain the words that the teacher, because if you're not maintaining those words, you can completely go to a place that's utterly not true. Like we see a lot of times, there are certain students who run away, take certain ideas from a teacher, but pervert it so badly that it loses it, and it's not true anymore. It's a perversion. They think it's the right thing. It's not the right thing anymore, because they completely disconnected it from the teacher's teachings. That means that part of the student's world has to contain with it some of the teacher has to insert itself into the student's heart or in the student's mind. The enclosement of the cause and the effect. The light here, he's still talking about intellect and emotions, and soon he's going to talk about student and teacher, which is both in mochin. But here he's talking about the first Ilav Elul, in the light of the intellect, comes in a manner of enclothement, musag, to be grasped, umurgash, and felt, believe in the heart. What comes out of that? What comes out of that is that since the manner in how the cause creates the effect when it's Ilav Elul is in a way that the cause, the Ilah, travels to the place, enters into the space of the Elul to create it. For that very reason, the production that it produces will be similar to it. That's the idea that it's be'erach. There is a certain, as we said before, it's not cut off completely. It's be'erach. They have a certain equal. There's something that equal that makes them be. I'm going to say equal to each other, but close to each other. That's what it means. Be'erach. Just like in emotions and intellect, he's going to show it in the other form of Ilav Elul, which is the Ilav Elul, which is not two substances, one contained in the other, but the second mode of Ilav Elul, where the Elul is a ha'ara, is a direct ray of the teacher, of the Ilah of the cause. Over here as well, he's going to show how the two are close to each other. The seichel, the intelligence of the recipient, which is the student, maseh, grasps the seichel hamashpia, grasps the intellect of the teacher. Yes, maybe doesn't grasp it all the way. It's grasping it on the outside. It's not grasping it on the inside, but there is definitely an overlap between the student and the teacher. V'nasa ke'erech, and it becomes, and as a result of that, it becomes equivalent to a certain degree, seichel hamashpia, to the intellect of the teacher. So till now we explained how the teacher, the source, the Ilah, gets close to the Elul by entering, like the intellect enters the heart. The teacher occupies themselves in teaching the student. It's almost like a good teacher has to enter the mind of their student and kind of feel the student's head. Doesn't emphasize that so much over here, but I'm thinking that that's part of it, is the teacher has to like sense the student of who they're teaching and kind of like feel the student's mind and in there, like say the words and the teachings in a way that they can feel the student is grasping it. It's like the teacher is entering the space of their student. Now it works the opposite as well, that the Elul, the effect rises also into the space of their mashpia, of their influencer, of their Elul. How is that? The kirva Elul ela, and the closeness of the Elul, of the affected, of the effect, ela to its cause, this that it can improve its relationship with its cause by getting closer to it, by traveling from Los Angeles to San Francisco, by actually leaving their world. And that's the point of delving again and again into the words of the teacher. It's one thing about trying to create your own words. Another thing is like going back into the words of the teacher and going deeper and deeper and deeper. So, and that refines the student's head, that it become more like the teacher. When one thinks deeply, and toils themselves into that very intellect that was delivered to them. Let's say they reread the class, they get a copy of the class, and they reread it, or they'll get the audio of the class and listen to it 5-10 times, and they come to its depth and its inner light. More. This is the closeness. The aliyah and the elevation of the effect, getting closer to its cause. Through this process, the effect goes out from the coarseness of his original understanding. Generally, the teacher is on a higher level, which means more refined. The student is a coarser understanding, more material, more like, the more you learn, the more sophisticated, the more refined the mind can become, the more elegant, the more you're able to perceive things in a more delicate manner. So the more the student probes the words of the teacher again and again and again, it brings the intelligence of the student in general a couple of notches upper to be able to hear the subtleties of something and understand things in a refined manner. Be'inyan uba eladakos, and comes to the fineness of it, v'haruchnius yaiser, and to the spiritual essence of it more. Ubederach klal in general, mizdachach sichlei bezeh. First of all, in this understanding, you understand it more on a higher level, in a cleaner level. And also, in general, by the student doing that consistently, it creates a more refined mind in general. Now, this is also emotions. He's going to show this idea how the ilah can get closer to the olol. Earlier, he said how the olol jumps down to the ilah we said bina liba, that the intellect goes down into the space of the emotions to inform the emotions. Now he's going to show how the emotion rises to the intellect. How is that? The same as in the emotions. That a person can work on their emotions to connect their emotions more to their mind. When that happens, there is more luminance from the mind in the emotions, but that comes from lifting up your emotions. It's a pasuk that doesn't bring the pasuk over here. It says, "Se'u yedechem," lift your hands. Hands, the two hands represent chesed and gevura, which is the emotion. Se'u, lift them up, kodesh, towards the chachma, meaning don't allow even your holy emotions, which you love God, don't lift it up to become more refined. It shouldn't be so egotistical about I love. It should be more it should be more about God, about who He is, not about yourself. You get lost in who He is. That's the purity of an emotion. Because remember, we learned the difference between intellect and emotion is that intellect has a selflessness to it. Emotions are very selfish. And the refinement of emotions is when they become more polished, is when the emotions stop being so crass into themselves, but being more about who you're loving. It's like in a relationship, you start off in every relationship is you love yourself and your spouse feels good in any way because she makes you good dinner or she provides any other type of comfort and happiness. But the refinement of a relationship is, so it's I love and you is a very small little detail. But as you grow and mature and hopefully in life and deepen your bond with your spouse, it's supposed to become more about the other person and less about yourself. You forgo much more about yourself. What you're concerned is their happiness, because the you becomes huge and the I becomes less. And that's more the elevation of a marriage and an elevation of a relationship. The emotions. The light of the intellect, the emotions become more refined. You don't feel your emotions so much. The emotion is there, it's very powerful, but it's so quiet. It's without all that noise. It's more in a state of dveikos, like we learned earlier. All of this, this whole journey of and connection between this and the two entities is because they're both rays. And when they're both rays, the ray can travel higher into the mother ray. The child ray can get closer to the mother ray. But you can get closer to it, which means but if it's a ray coming not from a ray, but a ray coming from an essence, you can't say I'm getting closer because the essence will always be elusive, because the essence is not graspable. Between teacher and student, the student can grasp more of the teacher. What can they grasp more of the teacher? The ray of the teacher, because that's possible to grasp. In the world of descriptions, you can get a better description. But in the world of substance, of essence, that always remains hidden. Doesn't mean you can't get close to it, but the getting close to it is not through grasping. It's through bittul, which we're going to speak later. Because essence is beyond grasping. So this whole situation of the two bonding and getting closer to each other is not possible in the relationship of essence. And that we said earlier, why Ar and Ma'ar are fundamentally far from each other. Okay, we're going to stop over here and continue Be'ezras Hashem in the next class.